In the continent of Nigeria's fertile northwest, a threatening silence is spreading. Fields, one teeming with farmers' laughter and the rhythmic hum of plowing tools, now lie abandoned, overtaken by fear and hopelessness. A new terror echoes through Kebbi, Zamfara, and neighboring states. The Lakurawa, a group shrouded in brutality and power, has risen. They are not just waging war against the people, they are dismantling the very foundation of Nigerians' breadbasket. This is no ordinary crisis. It's a premeditated assault on farmers, traders, and rural livelihood, leaving communities trapped in cycles of poverty and hunger. But who are the Lakurawas? How did they emerge? Why do their actions cut deeper than bullets? To unravel this tale of terror and tenacity, we research into the haunting realities of 2024, a year when crops became casualties and food security turned into an undeniable threat. In the quiet corners of Northwestern Nigeria, where fertile lands once stretched as far as the eyes could see, encounters a storm that has been brewing for years. This storm, however, is not of nature's making. It is the Lakurawa, a dark and ruthless group birthed from the depths of poverty, political neglect, and desperation. Their name, now synonymous with terror, was virtually unknown just a few years ago. So what ignited their rise? And why have they become a force capable of bringing an entire region to its knees? The root of the Lakurawas lies in the bricks of a failing system. This results in decades of government neglecting rural communities, grappling with unemployment, poor infrastructure, and weakening agricultural support. Farmers, who are proud stewards of Nigerians' granaries, found themselves abandoned as subsidy vanished, irrigation system rot, and their climates grew harsher. Anxiety, it seems, became fertile ground for rebellion. In 2021, following an increase in banditry and communal conflict, smaller factions began coalescing under a common banner headed by Amir Habib. They called themselves Lakurawa, meaning the ones who seize. What they seized was not just crops or cattle, but hope itself. Recruiting young men frustrated by poverty and promises unkept. The Lakurawa positioned themselves as both saviors and scourges, exploiting socio-economic divides to further their cause. Their motivations were as brutal as their tactics. Official reports from 2023 reveals that over 65% of rural households in Kebbi and Zamfara were forced to abandon their lands due to Lakurawa's raids. In these attacks, fields were bombed, grain silos looted, and livestock slaughtered. The group's aim basically is to destabilize food production and tighten their grip on power through fear and dependency. According to the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics, agricultural output in Zamfara dropped by 42% between 2022 and 2024, a direct result of this orchestrated disruption. Yet, the Lakurawas did not stop at farms. They began targeting local markets, cutting supply chains, and plunging millions into hunger. The breadbasket of Northwestern Nigeria, once brimming with life and abundance, now wrapped with stillness. Villages that once celebrated harvest seasons with colorful festivals and laughter now lies empty. Their fields overgrown with weeds, their barns emptied out by despair. The Lakurawa have turned these vibrant farming communities into shadows of their former selves. In late 2023, the village of Gidamadi in Kebbi State was struck during planting season. Farmers who had scrapped together what little they could to buy seeds and fertilizer watched helplessly as armed men touched their fields and raided their homes. For many, this wasn't just the loss of a season's work, it was the destruction of a future. Over 20% of Nigeria's rural population relies on agriculture for survival. Yet, villages like Gidamadi are now spectre towns. Families have fled en masse, leaving behind ancestral lands to seek refuge in overcrowded urban areas or makeshift camps. A report by the Food and Agriculture Organization revealed that The displacement caused by such rates has reduced local food production by nearly 40% in affected regions, worsening food shortages and skyrocketing prices. The Lakurawa's terror doesn't just destroy crops, it sows fear. Farmers who remains often refuse to venture into their fields, knowing they could be met with violence or even death. This psychological warfare has paralyzed agricultural activities, creating ripple effects that extend far beyond the borders of Kebbi and Zamfara. As the Lakurawa's reign of terror tightens its control on northwestern Nigeria, the nation faces a ripple effect that reaches far beyond the rural communities they torment. Their attacks have sent shockwaves through Nigeria's economy, crippling the agricultural sector that accounts for nearly 24% of the country's GDP. The once prosperous grain market of Kebbi and Zamfara, known for their abundant supply of cereals and legumes, now stand eerily quiet. By 2024, agricultural output in northwestern Nigeria have plummeted by an alarming 38%. According to the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics, staple foods like millet, sorghums, and cowpeas have become scarce. Their price is soaring to record highs. A bag of millet, which sold for 18,000 naira in 2022, now costs over 80,000 naira, a staggering increase. For the average Nigerian family, this already means spending nearly all of their income on food. This surge has pushed many deeper into poverty. Markets that once thrived with trade are now struggling to survive. In March 2024, the energetic Gusau market in Zamfara, a center for grain distribution across the Sahel, reported a 50% drop in transactions compared to 2 years earlier. Transporters, weary of Lakurawa's ambushes, have abandoned routes connecting farming villages. The economic priorities is further compounded by the group. They target the destruction of agricultural infrastructure. In June 2023, irrigation systems worth 1.2 billion were destroyed in coordinated attacks, leaving vast swaths of farmlands barren. These losses have deterred investors, both domestic and foreign, from funding projects in the region, stifling economic recovery. When the Lakurawa strike, they leave no room for recovery. Their strategies go beyond instilling fear. It aims to dismantle the backbone of Nigeria's food production. In February 2024, the group executed one of their most devastating attacks in Danko Wasego, Kebbi State, targeting an expensive irrigation network critical for rice cultivation. Witnesses recall the night lit by flames as pipelines worth millions of naira melted into useless debris. This single attack crippled the supply of water to over 2,000 hectares of farmland, leaving farmers helpless as a crop wither under the unrelenting sun. The group's coordinated raids are relentless. They touch granaries filled with harvested grains, destroy warehouses holding fertilizers and seeds, and loot structures that represent the dreams of modernized agriculture. In 2023 alone, over 6 billion naira worth of agricultural assets were lost to such assaults. According to the Nigerian agrarian watchdog, these acts are not random. They are calculated attempts to obstruct the supply chain at its very roots, ensuring that communities are left starving and dependent. The Lakurawa's destruction doesn't just impact the present, it derails the future. Farmers already reeling from climate challenges are now forced to operate in a constant state of vulnerability, watching their labor and investment go up in smoke. Their terror reverberates through the economy, leaving behind a grim question: how does a nation rebuild its agricultural foundation when every step forward meets a calculated blow? For many rural families, farming isn't just an occupation, it's a lifeline. And the Lakurawa have served that lifeline with precision, Entire communities have been displaced, their traditions and livelihood left to decay. In 2023, the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs reported that over 400,000 people fled their homes in northwestern Nigeria due to insurgent violence. These weren't just numbers. They were farmers, herders, and traders who abandoned generational old homestead, leaving behind the tool of their survival. One such victim, Amina Musa, once managed a thriving groundnut farm in Zamfara. She recalls the night her family fled. The Lakurawas came like a storm, burning everything we had. We ran into the darkness with only the clothes on our backs. Today she resides in a displacement camp, relying on handouts instead of our hands. Fields that produce now lie barren. Their owners scattered in urban slums or overcrowded refugee camps. The loss of labor means a significant reduction in planting, harvesting, and production. Rural areas, once the pride of Nigeria's agricultural economy, have become ghost towns. The ruling of farms and infrastructure by the Lakurawa has created a spillover effect, plunging Nigeria's food supply chain into havoc. In 2024, the National Agricultural Survey reported a 45% decline in food production in Zamfara and Kebbi states, with ripple effects felt in urban centers like Lagos and Abuja. For families, this means harder choices: send children to bed hungry or sacrifice other basic needs. For traders, it means reduced income and the looming threat of business collapse. For the nation, it means escalating poverty and malnutrition. As the Lakurawas continue to dismantle Nigeria's agricultural backbone, the nation is left with an uncomfortable truth. Dependency on imports is no longer a choice, it's a necessity. With local production crippled, Nigeria has turned to international markets to fill its food gap. But the solution comes with a heavy price. In 2024, Nigeria's import bill for staple food surged to over $4 billion, a 30% increase compared to the previous year. The feat on foreign suppliers has not only drained the country's foreign reserves, but has also exposed the economy to global price volatility. For instance, wheat prices on the international market spiked by 25% earlier this year due to geopolitical tensions, leaving Nigerian bread prices soaring by 50% overnight. Families accustomed to paying 500 naira for a loaf of bread now struggle with prices exceeding 750 naira. This dependency comes with another peril: import delays. In April 2024, the Lagos port faced a bottleneck crisis, leaving thousands of tons of imported grains stranded for weeks. As a result, markets across the nation experienced shortages. Insecurity is a quiet killer of opportunity, and the Lakurawa has ensured that Nigeria's agricultural sector bleeds investment. Their violent campaigns have turned the fertile lands of Kebbi and Zamfara into red zones, where neither local entrepreneurs nor foreign investors dare to tread. Before the crisis, Nigeria was on the path to agricultural revolution. In 2021, the government launched ambitious programs to attract foreign direct investments, including partnerships with international agro-tech companies to modernize farming methods. But by 2023, this project had come to a standstill. Investors from Netherlands and South Korea reduced $600 million worth of funding for innovative irrigation and mechanized farming projects, citing insecurity as a primary reason. Local businesses have not been spared either. In Kebbi, a promising rice processing plant shut its door in late 2023 after sustaining repeated losses from supply chain disruption. The factory, which once employed over 1,000 people, now stands deserted, its machineries rusting away. The loss of investment isn't just about money, it's about lost potential. Without funding, farmers can't access modern tools or techniques to boost productivity. Without growth, rural communities remain trapped in cycles of poverty and dependency. Lakurawa have done more than spread terror. They have stolen the future of agricultural innovations in Northwestern Nigeria. Lakurawa's terror spreads across Northwestern Nigeria. The question remains, can anyone stop them? The Nigerian government has rolled out a series of measures to combat the insurgency, but their effectiveness is under scrutiny. Military operations have intensified in regions like Zamfara and Kebbi. With the deployment of special forces in early 2024, yet this effort often feels like treating symptoms rather than curing the disease. Critics argue that these military campaigns frequently miss their mark. In 2024, a raid aimed at dismantling a Lakurawa camp in Danko Wasagyu tragically resulted in civilian casualties, fueling mistrust between the government and the very communities they aim to protect. This mistrust has grown into treason, with some locals accusing the government of neglecting their plight until the crisis became too large to ignore. Meanwhile, communities are taking matters into their own hands. In parts of Zamfara, vigilante groups known as Yansaki have formed, vowing to defend their lands, armed with homemade weapons. They face off against this heavily equipped Lakurawa, often at great personal risks. While their bravery inspires hope, it also increases tensions, creating a cycle of violence that leaves farmers trapped between two dangers: insurgents and the fallout of retaliatory strikes. With every move met by countermeasures, the battle against the Lakurawas seems far from over. The road to reclaiming Nigeria's agricultural sector from the grip of Lakurawa is demanding, but not impossible. Experts agree that a multifaceted approach is essential, one that combines immediate action with long-term solutions. The question isn't just how to recover, but how to rebuild a system that withstands future threats. Strengthening security remains a critical first step. Beyond military operations, collaboration with local communities can foster trust and improve intelligence gathering. Involving community leaders in designing security strategies could bridge the gap between the government and those most affected. In Kebbi, early 2024, saw a pilot program where local farmers joined a cooperative security network, resulting in a 15% drop in insurgent activities in targeted areas. Scaling such initiatives could bring hope to more regions. Investing in resilient agricultural practices is equally important. Climate adaptive techniques like drought-resistant seeds and solar-powered irrigation systems could help farmers bounce back faster after crisis. In Zamfara, an NGO-led project introduced cassava strains that thrived despite reduced rainfall and security risks, restoring livelihoods to over 1,200 displaced families. Finally, empowering local farmers with financial and technical support will be key. Access to microloans, training, and modern equipment can reignite their abilities to produce and sustain. The government must ensure transparency in these initiatives to avoid corruption derailing progress. The rise of this terror group has shaken the very foundation of Nigeria's food security, exposing cracks in systems meant to sustain and protect millions. Their reign of terror, stretching across fertile farmlands and disrupting entire supply chains, is a clear reminder of how deeply insecurity can cripple a nation. Yet, amidst the agony, hope lingers. The fight against the Lakurawa is not just a battle for security. It's a fight for survival, for the future of farmers who till the soil, and for families who depend on affordable and accessible food. Every field policy, every abandoned farm, and every displaced farmer adds another section to this unfolding tragedy. Yet what we really need to know, the path forward will require all hands on deck. Local leaders, policymakers, investors, and ordinary citizens like you. Together, we can amplify the voices of those affected and push for the reforms Nigeria desperately needs. We will be here telling these stories, uncovering truths, and keeping you informed every step of the way. So don't miss what's next. Subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell, and join us as we dive deeper into stories that matter. The journey to resilience is just beginning, and you don't want to miss it. Together we will ensure that Nigeria's breadbasket not only survives, but thrives again.